What's up? Welcome to another market recap. Today is September 3rd. Yeah, 2025. So I had no trades last night. The two main trades I was looking for was just pound dollar and pound Singapore. And they did pull back, but prior to pulling back, they formed these double bottoms, as you can clearly see on like the 10-minute time frame as well as your 1 hour time frame. And it's a double bottom like that pretty much invalidates a trade for me. So they look nice. If it didn't have the double bottoms, like this is a pretty clear double bottom too. Like there's several hours apart essentially. Then I would have taken one of these trades if it would have just continued from this point to the area of value and then trade that short. But we got a minor pullback, nothing really to value. And then we got to follow through to the lows, which is my first initial target to begin with. Rejected the lows pretty clearly and then pushed up, breaking everything in a micro time frame. So that invalidated both of these trades pretty clearly. And then pound yen did nearly pull back to value. But at the point it did pull back to value, it's a secondary pair. It's not a primary pair for me. So I'm still waiting for pound dollar, pound Singapore to pull back. And in that process, this probably did give an entry. I bet you could probably draw one on this kind of like 30-second time frame here. A break of that trend. And this trade would have probably been... Let's see here. It would have roughly have been a 0.3, 0.5 trade. But most likely a fail-safe exit. It would have just tapped a 1-to-1. Just can't really do much from a management perspective. And so when it broke the 10-minute 50 on the pullback, would just close the trade at that point. But even that 10-minute break is pretty high, so it's hard to say. If you're okay with not accepting a 1, then there's a kind of a clear trend here on a micro time frame. So 30-second, 2-minute that could have been exited on for like 0.75 or so. But I wasn't really entertaining taking this trade because at this time I was waiting for these two to pull back, right? And granted, this one was already there, but it's a secondary pair for me. And then pound Kiwi never pulled back to the level that I was interested in trading from fully. Like it got close, but it never really triggered the alert I had set. And then pushed. So dollar pairs I'd pretty much written off. I wasn't watching them. And then the only other pair I was really interested in was this Euro Mexican. And this is potentially where I made a mistake in last night's session. We go bring back the pivots from yesterday. I think it was a valid trade. So clear kind of like wave 1 break, wave 2 pullback, play wave 3. So like a wave 3 CBO. So I was looking at this. If you zoom in on your daily time frame, it had a rejection of the daily 50, so it had enough to trade it. And I did have an alert set on this. The alert triggered, but it triggered while I was asleep at 3:30 or so, 3 a.m. or so in the morning. And normally my alerts, when they trigger, my computer's loud enough, my phone's loud enough, it'll wake me up. But for whatever reason, I wasn't woken up by this alert. So you had your first kind of opportunity entry on this 30-second time frame on this trend drawn here. I think you could enter on a break of that, but the even better kind of entry is again probably drawn as trend, and on this double bottom you can enter on that break or wait for this other break and enter on that. So but the double top rather The breakdown on that double top was pretty nice for an entry. And then if entered something along those lines, this would have been a 40 pip position, more than likely. And so 1-to-1 would have been clearly hit, and then kind of trending DAC below it on this 30-second time frame. So here I would pretty much lock my 1-to-1, and then I probably would have just captured one, to be honest. Just trending, still trending, take you out on this kind of break. So likely a 1R trade, if not a tad more if you went really aggressive on your management. So this is the potential miss trade I had. I think I should have probably caught this trade, and it would have looked something like this. Everything was there really to take it. I just wasn't woken up by my alert. If I was woken up, then I would have taken this trade. But yeah, that was my night. It was my session. So I'm going to go build my watch list for the next session. I'll catch you guys here in a minute. All right, and we're back. So I've got mainly a yen group for tonight's session. I think there's a number of valid options in here. The nicest of the group is the Swiss yen for me. The levels line up the best. Like the daily 50 lines up well with 0.382 fib and the pivot, as well as this kind of horizontal resistance from the previous lows. So it looks good, as well as this horizontal level has been somewhat respected, kind of more so as like a zone-ish, like a small zone in the past. And then from a 1 hour perspective, this is an IBO. It'd be a wave 3 IBO. So we have a wave 1 breakdown, wave 2 pullback, play wave 3. If it continues just pushing and doesn't give a pullback, there's the potential to play a wave 2 from the 4 hour 50, 1 hour 200, S1 level. So I'll be watching both these kind of points. Primarily, I'm looking for that wave 3 IBO. But clear lower low. So first signal of a trend change, break of a trend. You have this like double top. You have MACD divergence right here. Pretty severe MACD divergence. So all things that really point towards a short. 10-minute time frame will essentially be a CBO / ACB at that time of entry. Hopefully the spread on this calms down. I know there is a little bit of a spread with Swiss yen for me, but usually it's tradable after the first hour of market rollover. So given this is a yen pair and this whole group's a yen, these will probably all move during Asia, I imagine. So hopefully there's an entry somewhat soon. But yeah, it looks good. I like it, all things considered. It pretty much has everything I need to take a trade. 4 hour time frame, not a lot here, but you're really not going to have much from a 4 hour perspective when it comes to like an IBO play. So, because it hasn't really broken down at all. IBOs typically will never really break down on a 4 hour. It's a CBO that would have some confirmation here as well. But daily time frame looks pretty decent with two kind of high test type candles, almost tweezers essentially, and that's kind of what we're seeing here on the 1 hour time frame with this double top. So I think it's good. Stop protection wise, I mean, if I can get an entry at the pivot area, I still have the 1 hour 50. I have 3 fib levels. I'll have this horizontal resistance, as well as in the 10-minute time frame. You can even use this low as more horizontal resistance. So there's a lot of crap in the way. And I think there's MACD as well. Yeah, there's also pretty severe MACD divergence on your daily time frame. So a lot of things are just pointing towards short. And a breakdown from here at this point would be a really nice kind of daily IBO. So this has the potential to be like a wave 3 IBO on a 1 hour, which then plays into a CBO come tomorrow, which then plays into a daily IBO, and then just kind of like daisy chain effect from there, right? So there's a potential to play this pretty far, I feel like. But my main aim is just the 2-to-1. Euro yen is probably in second place for me. Very similar kind of price action. It's just the levels don't line up as well when it comes to the 4-hour 50 and the 1-hour 50 and the 4-hour 200. So the 4-hour 50. Usually I like these levels in a perfect world to line up like they are right here. Like the 1-hour 50 is lining up with the pivot. The 4-hour 50 is lining up with S1. So, but it's very similar concept and price action. And this theme really fits with all of these yen pairs, right? They're all kind of from a daily perspective giving reversals. So again, you have like tweezers here on a daily time frame. You have a relative double top. You have a clear break of trend. So everything is pointing towards a bearish for the day. NOK yen is also really nice. I just, given the fact that this is an exotic pair, I don't know what the spreads look like on it. I doubt I'm probably going to be able to trade it, but I still flagged it because I really like the price action. I like it more than euro yen, but I just don't know if I'll be able to trade it or not. If I'm able to trade it from a spread perspective, I think I'd also label this as a primary pair. Like clear tweezers on your daily time frame, clear double top again, so confirming our tweezers, a breakdown, wave 3 IBO. You have plenty of room to move on your 4-hour time frame, the 4-hour 50, as well as your daily time frame to the recent previous highs, right? So it looks good. You have this kind of horizontal level in here. You have a clear break of trend, which most of these pairs have. And then there's CAD yen in here. I think it's another option. Again, same kind of theme, not as great of a daily, but still good enough to take a trade. You do still have the clear break of trend. So this is an option, right? But it's not just quite a primary pair for me. And then Aussie yen isn't an IBO like the other 4 pairs are, but more so an ABO play, so a breakout play. You have this daily time frame, right? And on a 4-hour, you can see it. Rejection. Actually, am I blocked? No, you can see it, but my head. You have a rejection here. You have a rejection here. You now have a potential rejection here, right? And then you have rejections in the past as well from this same level. So pretty decent daily level. Looks good. And we're bouncing off of that. And probably not any super large MACD yet, honestly. I don't know if I'd throw the MACD in there for this one. But it will be interesting if price continues to push upwards and then gives like a double top from this level. I'd entertain at that point taking a short ABO as a breakout play from here, which pretty much will play the break of this, would be an ascending triangle at that point. So it's holding the 1-hour 50 pretty nicely. It's holding this trend pretty nicely. So I think a break and good deceleration and a strong reversal again from this level should be enough to take a trade short and play that breakout. And then I have a position size for a 3-to-1, but I think you could stretch it to the 4-hour 50 if you really wanted to. But 3-to-1 is good enough for me. And then dollar yen, similar to the other yen pairs, kind of an IBO. It's just not as clean from a price action perspective. And then same thing with Singapore yen. Just not as clean. It's already sitting on the 4-hour 50. The daily's okay. But yeah. So, but 10-minute looks okay. Pretty much all these yens, though, they look the same. All same kind of vibes. So, and then I have this random euro pound pair, which, we were looking at shorting euro pound, I think, earlier in the week, right here. But, price just exploded, gave us essentially another double top and a break of the previous low. The only thing that I don't like about this is that it's now essentially retesting the previous highs that was holding as resistance pretty well, right, in this area. So now that can be support. And to take this trade, you have to bounce from here and pretty much retest the previous lows and then bet the price is going to continue down past this level that it just bounced off of. So I think there's potential for a short here, but I don't love the fact that, like, if you look at this 10-minute time frame, it's decelerating pretty nicely at this level to have a pullback, and it potentially can pull back and then retest these lows and then give a short. Or on this 10-minute time frame, it kind of broke down, bounced once. Here's a play, right? Ran into the previous lows and these EMAs, and now it's kind of giving double bottom from a micro time frame perspective. So it's like I could argue this either way. My bias is short for sure, just from a daily time frame perspective. But the micro time frames are telling me that this might push higher first. Like it might push to the highs again. Or if it pushes to this low and gives us some really nice deceleration, I'll entertain it if I'm not in a trade at this point, just because it's halfway through the week at this point. I'm taking a trade, so I'm trying to give myself some options here. But there are some negatives with it for sure. And then dollar huff, I have this random pair. And again, I've been talking about dollar huff now for weeks. I haven't really managed to take a trade on it, but this level is just wild that it's holding right here. So it doesn't really have any clear pattern. Like, I want to see a level that looks like this, that's just being smacked and smacked and smacked and smacked multiple times, and it's just holding. Like on this daily time frame, looks great. But I want to see it more so in the sense of like how Aussie yen is, where it has a clear trend and it's forming to like smack that level. And so it's giving me a pattern. And then, okay, I'm like, all right, at the top of this pattern, I can then play a trade from there. But on dollar huff, it's just kind of like sideways up and down price action that just keeps smacking into the level. So it's not really a pattern for me to trade like I prefer. I mean, you could argue there's a descending triangle on your daily time frame, but then that would put this in the realm of a swing trade and not really a day trade. So, but given how strong this level has been, I'm still watching it, right? Like, there's a possibility, again, if I'm not in a trade and price pulls back and retests these lows again and gives like a micro time frame double bottom like it did here, honestly, I think this is probably a decent entry to give it a shot again, or even a micro time frame play. It's probably a good trade. But I was in front of the charts for this point of the day. This is 11, 12 o'clock. But this is primarily what I'd probably be looking for. But eventually one day when this does break out, either which direction at this point, even if it breaks below this, it'd still probably be a decent trade, though. I feel like if it breaks below this level, it's going to be more so a false break rather than a full-on breakout. Like I can imagine it breaking below this, getting people to enter the trade, and then that being the catalyst to start pushing price this way pretty massively as it starts to hit people's stop losses, essentially. So, but pretty interesting. And then development watch, still watching Euro Kiwis, not done much, just kept moving sideways. Euro Aussie starting to become interesting. Kind of thinking of a long play here at some point when it breaks up. Aussie Singapore, again, starting to become pretty interesting. It fits with my Aussie yen kind of short bias that I have. So I'm just watching it. Then Aussie Kiwi, talking this pair for a while now, starting to approach the levels that we've been waiting for it to approach. So watching it pretty closely. In a perfect world, I'd prefer it to reach the very highs up here. So for it to reach all the way up here, though, these other Aussie pairs are going to have to keep pushing bullish. So we'll see. But it is at like your daily open and close prices, which looks pretty good. So it's becoming pretty interesting. I think you can maybe draw. I love that. Maybe here. Something like that. I don't know why it's, let me copy this, throw it in here. There's a potential to play this short, actually, I would think, from this level. The issue is trying to get your stop like above these highs. And I'd want to be able to at least get like a 1 to the 1 hour 50, but that's not really possible currently with putting the stop above those highs. And you can't really get a 2 to even the 4 hour 50. So the position sizing doesn't just fit that well. You'd have to be okay with more so a stop clip of the current highs and not these previous daily wicks. In a perfect world, you want to get your stop slightly above those. So either way, my dogs are losing their mind. That's all I got. So I will catch you guys tomorrow. See you.